We are just a few miles down the road from the Kalamazoo Speedway, where the 6th race of the AST Voltson Super Trucks was held just a couple of weeks ago. Today we will contest the 7th race of the 10-race season at the quarter-mile Galesburg Speedway. There will be 2 heat races to narrow the 27 entries down to 23 starters, and as always, the fastest 2 qualifiers are exempt. Darrell Quick is qualified on the pole position for the first time this season, and on his outside, Camden Rhodes will start on the front row for the first time in his career. The bottom 3 drivers in Heat number 1 will fail to qualify, as well as the bottom 2 drivers in Heat 2, with the exception of the fastest qualifier among those 5 drivers. We begin with Heat number 1, where Wilson Timothy leads the 13-truck field to the green flag. Hunter Blaze starts on his outside, but Blaze is a little slow to get going, allowing Timothy to jump ahead on the start. Following Timothy through and into second place is Adam Ramirez in truck number 86, and into turn 3 he goes for the lead. Ramirez not wasting any time, but then again this is a very short heat race of only 10 laps around this quarter-mile bull ring. Timothy is still hanging tough on the outside of Ramirez, putting up a fight to the 86, which is very hard to do at a track such as Galesburg, where there's essentially no banking in the turns. You may have seen at the start that Zack Churchill dove into the pits right before the green flag. He experienced a problem with his truck and needed to get it addressed, and rejoins the race a couple laps down. And as soon as he does so, he's going to get spun on the front stretch by John Bennett right in front of traffic, bringing out the caution on lap number 4. Churchill already had his day go downhill right on the start, and now it's just gotten worse. We're on board Hunter Blaze, who was in the middle of 3 wide, getting sandwiched between the 57 and the 58, and Bennett ran over the 84 and turned him across the front of Blaze and Jacobson. I'm not sure why he felt he needed to do that. Churchill wasn't holding him up. He was on the outside of 3 wide. And this caution is going to drastically reduce the distance of this already short heat race. We get the restart with just 1 more lap to go. Adam Ramirez is trying to hold off Wilson Timothy and 3rd place Jenny Jackson, and Timothy is going to make that fairly easy for him as he drives wide in turn 3, and Adam Ramirez is going to take the checkered flag in heat number 1. And let's take a look at how the race for the final transfer spot transpired. Brianna Princehorn occupied the position on the restart, but John White and Juan Cortez do not want to miss the show. White goes to her inside in turn 3, outbraking her into the corner, and he's going to complete the pass just in time, beating Princehorn and Cortez back to the line for the final transfer position for the feature. Wilson Timothy barely beat Jenny Jackson back to the line for 3rd place, with Amberly Weiss in 4th. Samantha Spires is in 5th. John Bennett's in 6th, Hunter Blaze 7th, Danella Jacobson in 8th, so they all make the race after getting involved in that crash. Legend Hart finishes in 9th, and again, John White beats Brianna Princehorn and Juan Cortez to the line, and Zack Churchill, of course, was a couple of laps down. Princehorn and Cortez already failed to qualify at Kalamazoo, and Churchill missed the race at Nelson Ledges. Unfortunately for all 3 of them, they're going to DNQ again here today. In heat number 2, it will be Michael McKinley leading the field to the green flag with Nick Moss on his outside, and McKinley gets a great jump over the rest of the field. McKinley, of course, won this race in 2014 when he led every lap from the pole. In time trial qualifying, he ranked 4th and therefore starts this race from the 1st position. Danny Vigo, the driver who won last year's race at Galesburg, is not off to nearly as good of a start as McKinley is. He's about to lose the 10th and final transfer position to Mary Brousseau as the 25 goes by on his inside. But right as she does so, there's a crash right in front of them. Kathy Gargalot got spun off of turn 4. Let's take a look at the replay. Gargalot gets turned by Chris Washer off the corner, and Lester McPhail piles into Brousseau after the 29 hit the 96. That's going to take McPhail out of the race, and the caution once again is going to cause the race to restart with 1 lap left. Michael McKinley leads over Jeffer Jackson, and in 3rd place, Brian Kelly runs way wide in turn number 1, and there's a truck going through the grass down the backstretch. Madness at the back of the field as drivers fight for the final transfer spots, but McKinley is going to take the victory and earn himself the 4th starting position for the race. Now let's take a look at what happened at the back and who made the race and who didn't. Danny Vigo is the one who turned Jack Clark. That's the truck who went through the grass, and he's going to come back up on track and knock Vigo out of line. And everybody goes by except for Gargalot, who almost gets wrecked by Brousseau. But everybody makes it back to the line, and all of them retain their transfer positions except for Mary Brousseau, and Kevin Thompson gets spun by Chris Washer. Car finally gets turned around, but it's after the checkered flag. That was a very hectic restart. And once again, McKinley is your winner. Jeffer Jackson finishes in 2nd with Nick Moss in 3rd. Alex DeFranco's in 4th with Jack Clark finishing in 5th. Kevin Thompson's in 6th with Brian Kelly in 7th after almost driving off the track on the restart. Chris Washer's 8th, Danny Vigo 9th, and Kathy Gargalak almost got wrecked by Brousseau off the final turn, but managed to hang on. And Brousseau is going to fail to qualify for the race along with Lester McPhail, who of course crashed out on lap number 4. And neither of these two drivers were fast enough in qualifying to obtain the final starting spot in the feature. That goes to Brianna Princehorn, who initially failed to qualify in Heat 1. A very lucky break for both Princehorn and Lake Erie Motorsports, which otherwise would have had both of its drivers fail to qualify for the race. We are now ready to begin the feature race from Galesburg Speedway, where Daryl Quick and Camden Rhodes will be leading the 23-truck field to the start. Quick trying to get back the points lead after losing it at Kalamazoo to Michael McKinley, but as we saw in the heats, McKinley is very fast this weekend as well. Quick jumps ahead of Camden Rhodes at the start and brings Adam Ramirez with him, along with the rest of the inside line. Being such a small track, and with having no banking whatsoever, it is very hard to make any line but the inside line work. Adam Ramirez is going to find that out as he pushes up turn number 3 and opens up the door for Wilson Timothy. 61 truck, not wasting the opportunity, he goes to the inside and tries to move into second. Timothy is another driver who is in the midst of the hunt for the championship. Samantha Spires, coming off of her second place finish at Kalamazoo, is working her way to the front on the start, going to the inside of Amberly Weiss and Michael McKinley in a 3-wide move as she begins to work her way through the top 10. Nick Moss in truck number 74 finished in 3rd in his heat race, but on lap number 3 he's going to get spun down the back straightaway, right across the 57 of Danella Jacobson. Moss is going to get going again very quickly and has not received much damage. Here's a look at the replay. Alex DeFranco in the 95 was all over Moss through the corner and turns him off of turn number 2. And Jacobson had nowhere to go, just like she did in her heat race when Zack Churchill got turned across the front of her. This is a familiar view for Jacobson today. Truck's getting spun right in front of her, and fortunately for her, she's not going to receive much damage herself. Quick leads the field back to the restart with Timothy running in 2nd and Ramirez still in 3rd. But Ramirez uses a very good restart to stick his nose ever so slightly to the inside of Timothy and uses the line through turns 1 and 2 to take back the 2nd spot. Jenny Jackson's trying to go with him as there's a truck spinning in the background. I believe that was the 99M of Michael McKinley. Let's take a look at the replay. He is all over the back of Amberly Weiss, and then John Bennett turns the 99M around and into the grass. Your points leader finds trouble on lap number 9, but fortunately he is not going to hit anything, although he's going to lose several positions. And Bennett, trying to get away from that, sweeps up across the front of Jeffrey Jackson, drives off course and can't get slowed down in time to avoid hitting the earth and embankment, and he's going to get stuck up along that hill. He's going to lose 1 lap as the safety workers get him down and restart to the inside of Quick on lap number 15. Ramirez still runs 2nd, and Jenny Jackson right away goes to the inside of the 86, and now she's on the inside of Quick for the lead. Quick couldn't get down to the bottom in time. Bennett was still to his inside, and now Jackson is going for the top spot. Homegrown racers, both Jenny and her brother Jeffer made their debut at this race last year, and Jenny scored a top 10, and she's doing very well again here today as she takes the lead of the race. That's the first lap that she's led in her AST Voltson Super Trucks career. Wilson Timothy follows Jackson through and into 2nd place, while Quick is still on the outside lane. Ramirez tries to go underneath him, but Amberly Weiss shows up at the last second, and now they're 3 wide for 3rd. Weiss is off to a very good start herself, as now we have Lykoya and Isani and Asar all running 3 abreast. Weiss has a best finish of 4th in this series and is looking to better that here today, and they're still running 3 wide through turns 3 and 4. Some very exciting racing being put on by this track despite its small, slow, and flat nature, and Quick overdrives the corner a couple laps later in turn number 1 and is going to give up a few more positions in the process, dropping through the field pretty quickly, his truck not handling very well at all on the outside lane. Kathy Gargalak and Legend Hart make contact while battling for position. Gargalak almost gets spun across the front of Chris Washer, and then she runs Hart wide in turn 4. 77 goes into the outside wall. Legendary Motorsports has not scored very many good results this year in their first season of competition, and even though they've made the race, it doesn't look like they're having a good showing again here today. Danny Vigo is running in the midfield, having worked his way up from the back, and Daryl Quick is going to make contact with him and almost turn him into the grass. Quick perhaps getting a little frustrated after having dropped through half the field from the lead, but Vigo uses the opportunity to go to the inside of Samantha Spires, who has also fallen through the field very quickly after having restarted from the 5th position. Hunter Blaze is running in the 6th spot and just ahead of Kevin Thompson. It's good to see Blaze having a good run here today after having been the victim of some pretty bad luck in the past few races. It seems that Blaze has been spun on a number of occasions in recent weeks, as Thompson now goes for the spot. The 90 truck having another good run here today, having worked his way to this position from a midfield starting spot. He of course won for the first time in his career last week at Kalamazoo. And speaking of him winning at Kalamazoo, John White, Thompson's good friend and fierce rival, has showed up to the track with some new decals this week, one plastered on the hood and one on the rear tailgate, describing Thompson as a superior driver and White as a loser. All that White has told us regarding these decals is, quote, "I lost the bet." If it's any compensation for him, though, White is currently beating Thompson on track, exactly one spot ahead of the 90, as Jenny Jackson continues to lead the way and has opened up several car lengths over Wilson Timothy. Jackson has recently developed a pretty bad habit of failing to qualify one week and running very well the next. She finished 5th at Winston, but failed to qualify for both Nelson Ledges and Kalamazoo, and of course today she is leading the race. John Bennett, just ahead of her, has not been holding her up and is running on the tail end of the lead lap, so Bennett has a very fast truck of his own if he's keeping ahead of the leader at this point. Behind Jackson, we have the rest of the drivers in 2nd through 7th. Amberly Weiss is still in 3rd with Rhodes in 4th. White is still ahead of Thompson, and Adam Ramirez is now running in 7th. These 7 drivers have pulled away quite a bit from the rest of the field. The first truck behind them is Danella Jacobson, who despite the damage to her front end is having a very solid run in 8th. Hunter Blaze has fallen back to 9th and is trying to hold off Danny Vigo, who has worked all the way up into the top 10 from the back. He's not the only driver who's done so, though. Look who's going for the position on him right now. It's Brianna Princehorn in the 7, who initially failed to qualify for the race, but received a bye by being the fastest time trial qualifier who missed the show. She is now going for 10th on Vigo. Michael McKinley has not been able to recover from the spin that he had earlier on in the race, as he currently battles with Legend Hart for the 21st position, but look just in front of them, it's Daryl Quick, who has fallen all the way back to the 20th spot from the lead on the restart. Quick has had one of the fastest trucks all weekend, but for whatever reason, the speed has fallen off drastically over the course of this race. Chris Washer in truck number 96 is also not having a very good race. He finished 9th at Winston earlier in the year, but otherwise has not run very well since his return to the series, but he has spent quite some time in Europe and away from the American short tracks. Jeffrey Jackson just ahead of him, and Samantha Spires, another pair of drivers who we are a bit surprised to see at the back. Spires ran well early on, and Jeffers' younger sister Jenny is of course leading the race. And Legend Hart is going to run wide in the first couple of corners and give the spot to John Bennett, who was caught all the way up to the back of the field under green flag conditions and has now made a pass for position on a driver who restarted on the lead lap. Jenny Jackson's going to get by the 77 one lap later, and this traffic may be a golden opportunity for Wilson Timothy or any of the other drivers behind him to catch up. It doesn't look like he's going to be able to take advantage of it though. Timothy having a bit of a tough time trying to get around Hart, and Amberly Weiss is actually closing in on him considerably right up to the back of the 61, and she gives him a bit of a bump in turn number 1. A slight nudge there from Weiss, and now she goes for the position a couple of laps later. There hasn't been a pass among the top 7 drivers since about the halfway point of the race, and despite Wilson Timothy again being able to make the outside lane work for several laps, Weiss is eventually going to clear him. But further down the track, Jenny Jackson has just taken the white flag and begun the final lap of the race. Jenny is probably never going to let Jeffer hear the end of this one. The two Jackson siblings very competitive and always trying to outdo the other. And off the final turn, Jenny Jackson scores her first career victory at the Galesburg Speedway. A fantastic race for the entire 501 team, and coming around to finish the race, John Bennett is going to pick up one more spot on the final lap as he gets around Samantha Spires, but he can't quite beat Jeffer Jackson to the line. Bennett, of course, turned himself across the front of Jackson during the second caution, which is the reason why he fell off the lead lap in the first place, but he seems to think that that was Jeffer's fault, as he wrecks the 500 truck on the cooldown lap. That was rather uncalled for from the 58, But again, Jenny Jackson celebrates in victory lane and becomes the 5th driver in a row to win their first career race. Congratulations to the entire Homegrown Racers team. And believe it or not, this is the first race in series history that has been won by a female driver. Amberly Weiss, finishing in 2nd place, makes it the series' first 1-2 finish for female drivers and scores her best career result. Wilson Timothy finishes in 3rd after a great race of his own. Camden Rhodes finishes in 4th. John White gets his first top 5 of the season. It's hard to believe that he hasn't done so until today, and beats Kevin Thompson. So White must feel a little bit better about having lost to Thompson last week. Adam Ramirez ends what has been a very good weekend for him with a 7th place finish. Daniela Jacobson scores her 3rd consecutive top 10 finish in 8th and puts both of the Team Michigan trucks in the top 10. Hunter Blaze works up to 9th, and Brianna Princehorn, after starting from the final position on the grid, rounds out the top 10.